Footy Interchange Exchange. Great to have your company. This is the People's Podcast where we answer your questions each and every week. It's terrific to have your company. Will Schofield is with me as well as always. Sco, we've got a stack of interaction this week. And this is the podcast that I really love, hearing from what people are thinking out there as well. And we asked the question, if you could change one thing in the game, what would it be? We've addressed some of those in the main podcast this week, but this is what the people think is the biggest issue in the game. Starting off with Newway 9857 on YouTube says, this is an easy question, Paps. Every team plays each other once and an extra game for second derbies or marquee games, then reverse the home ground advantage every year. Parity and equalisation is the biggest issue in the AFL. Parity and equalisation is the biggest issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is the biggest issue, but unfortunately with broadcast rights, they won't go for that.
Yep.
If anything, they'll want more games. So we could have 36 before we have 24 or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you get to play everyone twice, right? If it's 36 games. And we're not going to get to that either.
Yeah. You definitely need the double ups with the marquee fixtures, your derbies, your showdowns, your Essendon and Collingwood's type matches, Carlton Collingwood. But I really do like the reverse the home and away each year, to try to make that fair, because you at least play everybody once at one stage. So keep a tally and keep it even of how many times you play each other home and away across the space of a number of seasons.
Right, so if West Coast plays Collingwood at the MCG, the next year they play them at Optus Stadium.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
And if you play twice, obviously it just rolls over to the next year when you play them once. But we had the situation on the weekend where Geelong and West Coast played against each other at Optus Stadium for just the fourth time, and they've been playing at Optus since 2018.
Yes.
So it's bizarre that they don't come across to play West Coast here. They might have come across to play Fremantle, but reverse that home and away, and then you get a few of the other teams travelling a little bit more as well. Chicken Joe says on YouTube, is that a reference to an animated movie, I think? Surfing one. My kids watch that one. Do you think the future of the game is potentially under threat due to the increase in information around concussion?
Well, I don't think it's at threat because of the increase in information. It's probably at threat just because of concussion. Full stop. The future of the game, no, I don't think so. It has been interesting watching either individual lawsuits or class action lawsuits against the AFL. You'll notice that I'm not involved in any of those.
Mm-hmm.
I've been concussed.
Have you been asked to be part of those?
Played concussed.
Or thought about it?
I don't think I've been. I think there was probably a broad email that I've seen. So that is what is putting the game at risk. Those. So yeah, I think there's a mixture of players that really need the support and help, and I think there's a mixture of people looking for money. Is that outrageous to say? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone's at a different scale.
And if you're one of those players and you're listening who see this, don't take it personally, but I do think there's some that are money hungry.
And there's others that legitimately need that help too.
Absolutely there are. I know some of them personally.
Yeah, the concussion part of it is difficult in terms of the litigation and then obviously the metrics in the game to try to minimise concussion. Is there a way to have a no-fault clause or a set payment or something for players if you suffer concussion? That's where it's going to get hard to whether you can keep players or the game being played the same way.
I don't know enough. Like there's enough contact sports around the world that I reckon we'd probably have to steal something from them. Like you think NHL and NFL.
Well, how do they do
I don't know.
MMA and bare knuckle fighting?
I think MMA, mate, it's sign the dock, get in the ring, get in the cage.
Well, does it get to that point though? Like,
you'd have to pay them more.
Yeah.
That's how it gets to that stage.
Or you go, there's a set amount or a maximum amount that you could then claim later on, knowing the risks of what you're getting into with more information. So with more information, it might actually go the other way a little bit as well, and then you have to sign up if you want to sign up to play or not, potentially. I don't know enough about how that's going to play out.
My attitude with injury, whether at head or other, whether I signed a piece of paper or not, I know the risks. I knew the risk, whether I knew about concussion or not.
Yeah,
I played the game at the highest level, and I knew the risks. I wasn't doing it because I was forced to. I had to.
Yeah,
and I certainly knew there was a chance of getting injured when I did it.
Yeah.
So that's why I get a little frustrated with class actions when you're turning around and say you didn't look after me enough. Well, you could have some personal responsibility, don't you? It's not everyone's fault when things go wrong in life. right? You're going to take your own responsibility. Now, there's cases in which, yeah, sure, the AFL could have done better or put in a situation where we didn't know, but I would say there'd be very little players that played that you could really put your hand up and say, I didn't know what I was signing myself up to. I don't think that's a credible argument.
Trent Davidson says, I'd make umpiring a full-time gig for all the umpires, not just the senior guys, so they can focus on training, reviewing the games and a better structure.
Yeah, I had this discussion with someone the other day. I think it was Dan Const, actually, our business partner here at BackChat. He was sort of saying, what difference would that make if they're full-time? I would say it would make an incredible difference. And so Dan was like, what are they going to work on? I just watch Vision all week. But I would say that's like saying, well, what do players do full-time? They train. So umpires would become fitter. They would, I would say, be at AFL clubs every training session. You'd have umpires there. If they couldn't be there, they would be at local clubs, waffle clubs, state league clubs, getting reps in, umpiring more, doing more vision, and then probably being able to sort of, in a way, help develop other umpires. You know, you'd run coaching sessions. You'd be able to, if you had them full time, there'd be a huge amount of things you could do.
The pay rate would have to go up significantly, I think, for
Sure.
umpires to match that as well and make it more enticing to do that, because
Sure.
a little bit same to footy players. Your time as an umpire is only limited, so the post-career opportunities, if you have to get compensated for that as well. So it would certainly be a big cost to the AFL.
Pretty important part, though.
Massive part. Yeah, massive part. I think changing the rules, though, would also help make the game easier
Or not changing the rules.
Well, changing the rules to make them easier to adjudicate.
Yeah, but the ones you're talking about aren't ones that have been there forever. Insufficient intent.
That's been there a long time.
Sling tackles and dangerous tackles.
Yeah.
That hasn't been there.
Yeah. I think more like you're holding the balls and pushing the back interpretation, changing, every couple of years, that type of thing. Make it a little bit easier for umpires and for fans to follow too. Aaron says, I'm not sure if it counts as a rule change, but I tell the umpires to speed the game up. Don't wait for the ruckman to run 20 metres before balling it up. Just get on with it. Same goes for boundary throw-ins. Don't hold things up. Also, get the boundary umpires to come in 5 to 10 metres so the rucks can actually compete in the air, not just tap it at hip height.
That would be fixed by just having two rucks in the ruck, and if you're the third man in, it's a free kick against you. So, trust me, players would be able to organise themselves enough without having to nominate and the actual throw it in, and two blokes go up. And if you're the third person in, it's a free kick against. It'll sort it out very quickly.
What if you fake going up in the ruck?
Why would you fake going up in the ruck?
To try to upset the other team.
But you just have to worry about your own team. Don't worry about the other teams doing.
You're trying to, I'm going to go up in the ruck, but then the other person actually goes up. Just those sort of tactics start coming in.
What's wrong with that?
With the boundary throw-ins as well, I think if the rucks stood a bit closer to the boundary, then you wouldn't get those ones being an issue. Yeah. Sometimes they stand too far back.
The common denominator there is ruckman. One idiot, some smarter blokes in the ruck.
I knew you were going to say that. Clay says, what would get me excited, the thing I'd change, proper state of origin. South Australia v Vic v WA. 3 games through the middle of the year, same as NRL. Each team plays twice. If they end up with 1 win each, the team with the most points, 4 is the winner to encourage scoring. Players from outside those states nominate at the draft for who they would play for if selected. Forget a game in February. Do this mid-season. It would be epic.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're going to get state of origin, I think, but you won't get it in the middle of the year. Reason being, like, you watch the NRL right now, and they've been doing it for such a long time that there's such a high priority. Like that, the week before state of origin, some of the teams have half a team playing.
Yeah.
And then the week after, some of them are doubling up. You just wouldn't get that at AFL. You wouldn't be able to do it physically, and you wouldn't get the buy-in. So it's got to be either in the finals bye, or bring in the grand final bye and scrap the finals bye and give the grand final bye and do it then and have everyone other than the grand final teams playing.
I think on the eve of finals it'd be hard for those teams playing.
No, you wouldn't.
You're saying before the grand final, not before the finals.
Bring in the grand final bye.
Yeah, right.
So, push it back a week and do it there, and you just don't have players that are playing in the grand final in it.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to do it in the pre-season when the Indigenous game's been run at the moment.
The issue is obviously the 3 main states and then more states involved than what the NRL have in terms of getting that matchup going. I don't mind the sort of play into the top tier system and you move up and down each year. So if you have a State of Origin round, you got your top 2 ranked teams. If you win, you stay as the champion, and then you drop down and you play against the 3rd team. And
yeah, but there's not going to be any movement.
Playoff.
What do you think? Tassie's just going to suddenly come from the rafters and start competing with Victoria?
Well, there certainly would be between South Australia and WA, and you get Queensland footy strong and New South Wales as well.
I think you'd struggle.
Or you have
for
the
movement.
Allies system back again.
I think you'd struggle for movement
with the Allies system back again. But I think that to make it competitive, otherwise it's just exhibition stuff, which we've got in the pre-season. Racing through these ones because Rush has sent us one, says one thing I would change, private owners for the teams like most other sports leagues around the world.
Oh, that, if that's a good idea, great, but it just won't happen.
I'm hoping that BackChat are going to fund the 3rd team in the Southwest.
A quicker way to do it would be to open up protected sponsors. So instead of private ownership, allow clubs to go and do more deals. And at the moment, there's still a lot of protection around that from the AFL and players, and that would be a way to almost privatise the league without having to do it.
Dan says, I'd like to see the AFL put more effort in promoting the non-Melbourne clubs, and it's also time for a Darwin team, if you're going to call it the AFL, make it not just Victoria with a few ring-ins.
I mean, that would be one argument. The other one would be put it in the southwest of WA.
My vote's going.
Yeah.
Colin says, decent beer at Optus Stadium.
Yeah. Shelter. I reckon they make decent beers. I think
I'm a big fan of Shelter as well. I think that's the difference. So it's Gage Roads there at the moment. They do some good beers too, but it's the fact that we're not allowed to have full-strength beer at Optus Stadium.
And honestly, paper cups, mate.
Yeah.
Paper cups is grim. It is great for the environment. Trust me, there are other alternatives than paper and cardboard cups.
Yeah.
You can make it out of bamboo. You can make it out of, what do they make it?
Get a recyclable plastic.
There's a vegetable that they use in Indonesia for everything, and it feels, looks, tastes like plastic.
Really?
But it's a vegetable. And, mate, it's just lazy. It just tastes like absolute dust, like the opposite of dust.
Yeah.
Soggy cardboard with beer doesn't work.
I don't get to have a beer at the footy very much these days.
You'll be there this weekend?
Yeah, I might have one or two.
See Paps on the hill, blind, live.
I don't know what they've got on tap down there in
Hopefully Shelter.
Hopefully. If not, I'll be having one the next day when I'm down in Busselton as well. But yeah, I think just give people the option to have full-strength beer like they do at other venues around the country. And David, last one on changes to the game, says, last touch between the arcs, penalise them, please, so it makes it easy like the AFLW.
Yep. I don't think that would change the game at all, except making those stupid decisions we see every week.
Stop people getting frustrated.
Yeah, correct. I think it's a great change. Love it.
All right, moving on to some other questions, and thanks to everyone for their feedback on how you changed the game. You can keep those coming through as well. Samantha Jane says, will the podcast get a Tasmanian journalist or contact on as we get closer to the introduction of the Devils? I'm in WA, so I don't really know much about Tasmanian footy, so it would be interesting.
It'd be good. Yeah.
Absolutely, we would.
Yep, have to get sure. Alex Pearce, so it is now.
Yeah, might be over there, but he'll still be playing, won't he?
Could be playing for Tassie.
Last year or two of his career, perhaps. But yes, once the Devils come in, and if not, we might just get a correspondent once they actually get ticked off with a stadium over there. Might be a good thing too. YouTube D says, Schoey, we were talking a lot about Alex Pearce last week and concussion and that incident. Says, Schoey, you're not going back with the flight of the ball too often is because you're intelligent. I was the same. Putting yourself in a position where you can get injured is no service to the team or the club. The only real exception I can think of is in a crucial situation. Let's say a must-win game or a final, etc. If the risk is greater than the reward, then you shouldn't do it, whether it's life or football. The idea of what, say, Jonathan Brown did was courageous, and applauding it is silly. Yes, it's courageous, but it's mostly just foolish. The people that will bear the brunt of the after effects of concussion symptoms are the families. It's not courageous to take that chance. It's just short-sighted and foolish.
I mean, I wouldn't be as critical as foolish and short-sightedness, but I do agree with putting yourself in good positions to not be injured. Like, it is possible. Get good technique when you're taking a ground ball. Put your knee and your hip and your ass in first. Don't put your head in the hole. Like, you don't need to do that at times. Sometimes you do, absolutely, but too many players have poor technique, and whether that's in marking contest or taking ground balls, which puts them in a really vulnerable position. So, yeah, I agree with most of that comment.
Lua PJB talked about the concussion as well, which I think we've already sort of answered through this, but thank you very much for sending your message through. Mark Edwards, who's a serial person on Twitter, very passionate Dockers man, says, has the youngest and least experienced side in the comp ever won the cup? Asking for a friend.
I mean, they've been the youngest, haven't they, Freo? Almost every round that they've played this year. That's why I think they got their messaging so wrong. Like, why didn't they just come out and say that so we knew it? Didn't have to go to the books and be like, geez, they're young. Oh, wow. So Nat 5 probably doesn't help that cause, does it? Having him back in the side. But baby Bombers?
Yeah, probably.
To answer the question.
Back to then. But yeah, it is difficult with that age profile, Mark. Thank you very much. When I say Cyril, I mean that in a good way. Always love your interactions.
Don't have to apologise if you rabble and Cyril. Just get
I
on
mean
with
it in a good way. He's
You're
always
just too nice.
interacting.
You're too much of a good bloke.
JBJ says, is Sean Darcy the Rowan Jones for Jackson being Chris Judd in chopping out and doing the team thing while sacrificing the role he thinks he should play, or is that a bad analogy?
Who was it? So
they're saying Sean Darcy is like the Rowan Jones, just doing the team thing in the ruck, getting the job done and allowing Luke Jackson to go and be more of a star.
Yeah, well, I know the argument's going to be every game they ever play together, who's better alone. But what it does do, it gives Jackson a rest. It gives him a rest to be able to do what he did. Like, he had 27 touches on the weekend. You don't do that just by yourself. I reckon, I know he looks good by himself, but I reckon he looks better with Sean. And they're going to have to share. But the game of the weekend, Sean Darcy had 30 hit-outs. Like, that's not a bad thing.
The win-loss last year, I think it was 10 wins, 3 losses and a draw.
Together?
When they played together.
Yeah.
So Freo are a better team when they both play. Luke Jackson's a better player when he's there by himself.
Yeah, well, ask Luke Jackson what he wants. To be a better player or a better team. I guarantee you he says better team.
It was interesting the last few weeks how he said, both on 6PR with us on radio and then on Fox when he was chatting to you about how he loved being around the ball.
Yeah.
He can still do that because he can play as a midfielder, and we saw that on the weekend as well. It doesn't have to be the ruck. Sydney says, G'day Paps and Schoey. Hindsight is a beautiful thing. Did the recruitment of Barris and Battle disrupt the back line at the Hawks? Frost playing for Box Hill after creating chaos in games last year seems like it's something they are missing. Cheers, legends. Enjoy Bunbury this weekend.
Yeah, look, I spoke about this on the main Footy Interchange. I just think it's going to take a bit of time. I don't think you ever don't want good players at your club. Like, they're both very good players. Is it going to click perfectly straight up? No. But I think in time, that's the right move.
And Ed asks, is not 15 play on now the worst umpired rule in the game?
Yes. Where's that gone? Now it's gone. I haven't seen it.
I was still a little bit there on the weekend.
Gone.
It was still there a few times.
Gone, mate. And it is. They don't call it anymore. So,
you know what has gone?
Flavour of the week.
The dissent rule.
Oh, that's gone.
That's completely gone.
Oh, that's gone. Mac Andrews.
So did you say Mac Andrews? Barreling the umpire.
Do you know what? I was watching and I saw the thing happen. I said, watch Mac Andrews here. He's going to absolutely go ballistic. It was holding the ball.
Yeah.
He wanted to throttle. Gone.
But last year, if you looked at the umpire for a second, it was a 50-metre penalty. Patreon questions coming through, Schoey.
So we will answer and ask these every week. If you're a patron, we will get to your questions guaranteed. If you want to chuck them on social media, please do, but we won't always get to them. Our patrons have chucked a few questions in here. If you want to become a patron, go to backchatpodcast.com.au/contribute. You can just go to the website and click on Patreon. You can join us for discounts on all our sponsors, early release content, no ads, blah, blah, blah. Dean H. says, I still want to know about the thoughts on a bonus point, win by 20 plus, but have to score over 100 to get it. So where do they do that? They do that in Union, in the Super Rugby.
Yep, to get more tries, more tries being scored.
They do that in cricket, like in the, I think they're a Big Bash.
In the Shield, you get bonus points in terms of first innings run rates, etc.
So you have to score over 100. I just think that our game rewards the ability to defend too much to say then, you've got to go score 100 points. So Dockers against the Gold Coast, they want to go into that game and keep it a low-scoring game to win it. If it's high-scoring, Gold Coast win that game. So I don't think we want to just reward the sides that can score 100 points.
Yeah.
That would be. I don't mind the bonus point idea. I just think you'd have to work in some way to reward defence as well.
I find it a little bit hard too because of the varying conditions that we play in too. Like the teams that play at Marvel Stadium every week, you've got a much higher advantage of being able to kick a big score as opposed to teams that might be playing in the wet or playing up in Queensland.
I probably don't see the need for it. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
Other than I guess increasing scoring, but you could add something like if you keep a team under 40, but then if you play West Coast or North Melbourne twice, really bad teams, you guaranteed a couple of bonus points. Yeah. Don't love that either. This is from Brendan on Patreon. Is the AFL mindset getting soft? Perform around 25 to 30 weeks of the year, including preseason, once a week. Yet they need buys to rest. Nobody can speak disrespectfully about other teams. Seems like an unprofessional tiptoe league at the moment, losing focus on what the product is. Look at the NHL, which plays 82 regular season games at an average of every 2.5 days with a short break mid-season. Players talk all the time mid-game on podcasts, etc. They know their product. So there's a fair bit to unpack there, but the NHL is a different game. It's
they play 82 games.
Yeah, but it's that's what it says.
I know the NBA does, but I didn't realise the NHL plays that many.
Have a look, see if it's that's what it says. Look, it's a different game. I don't think we'll ever get to that sort of set. Like, there's a little bit touching there around access.
Yeah, that needs to be better and not being as precious.
That's on the clubs.
Players give their.
I don't think that's on. Players aren't driving that. Players aren't saying, "Oh, we don't want to speak." Yeah. That's the clubs. The clubs are too precious. And the further I am out of the game, and the more I do media, the more I realise how precious clubs are, and it's a bit ridiculous, to be honest, that clubs protect their players as if doing a 5-minute radio chat or an hour interview is a big deal. It's not. It's talking about your product. That the product is football, and you're a player, and you're getting paid a lot of money to do it. So talk about it. It's not good enough to say, "Oh, you're not available this way. I'll get back to you in a month." That's not good. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's clubs driving, and I know you don't want to speak up because
no, I agree with you that it is very controlled. I also will say on the flip side, if a player does say something, let's not all get outraged because they said something.
Yeah,
and encourage people to speak their mind a little bit more.
Yes, I think clubs are too precious on schedule of players. Trust me, I know. I was a player. Don't tell me he's too busy on his day off. No, he's not.
Well,
doing nothing.
It's actually written into the new collective bargaining agreement that players have to be available so many times a year and do stuff. How many interviews has Harley Reid done this year?
Trust me, he's doing nothing. He's playing Fortnite, right? Just pause. Literally, we have the technology right now. He can pause Fortnite, get his camera up, do an interview, put it down, and he's done. It's our responsibility then to make sure what we're clipping and how we're producing that content is not, Harley Reid, ran his mouth about someone. You got to do it in a tasteful way, but that's on the media.
Yeah.
The availability of players is a joke. I'll just tell you, like, days off, they play video games. Their half day off, they do nothing. They go sit around and drink coffee. They're not doing nothing.
I want you to log in, play Fortnite against him, and do the interview through the channels.
Done. That'd be great. That'd be how to get access. Get a 2-hour interview with Harley Reid playing Fortnite against him, getting sniped. All right, Zen, where do you guys see Freo going in the second half of the season, and what point do fans book the bus across the road? What do you think?
Don't book the bus because I bumped into some Freo fans last year in Melbourne on grand final weekend and just said g'day to them at a OB we were doing, and they said, yeah, we're over here. We booked flights for the grand final with I think they said during the third quarter of the Essendon game, late on in the season, and if you remember what transpired from there, they lose that game by a kick and then they lose the next 3 and they fall out of the finals and don't make it. So they literally left it to the right, and as soon as they clicked, the season went down. So maybe don't book tickets just to not put the jinx on, but they're very well positioned now. Yeah. And I copped a lot of heat on radio trying to say calm the farm, like it's
St Kilda.
Yeah, after the St Kilda game, even after the Collingwood game as well. It's like they played better. Like the signs are good. Plenty of games at home in the back end. I think they got 7 of their next 11 in WA. They should be pretty well positioned if they can maintain the way they're playing right now.
They've done well to perform under pressure because as much as you say I would calm down, they had GWS away, Gold Coast away.
Yep.
They lose both of those. What do they have in the middle?
Port Adelaide.
So you'd think that was ticked off. But if they lost those 2 and didn't win them,
Absolutely.
The wagon to be going, there'd be pitchforks out, right? But they didn't. So that's credit where credit's due. Last one on Patreon from Harry Huntley. Thank you, Harry. G'day, gents. In your eyes, would Bailey Smith be the recruit of the year, or is there someone else? I have a bit of a rogue one, but Bailey Smith, certainly favourite for the Brownlow, is the recruit of the year.
Far and away.
I've got another one.
Yep.
Throwing at you. Matt Kennedy. Matt Kennedy at the Bulldogs.
Huge.
He has put one of the more consistent seasons together from someone who played at Carlton, who was, behind Cripps and behind Walsh and anyone else, Chera. He has been a bona fide star for them this year. If you look at his stats, he just churns it out. Now, he's not Bontempelli. You don't need Bontempelli. They got Bontempelli. They need a Matt Kennedy. I think that's brilliant recruiting, and he's absolutely held his end of the bargain up.
I think that one's hurt Carlton fans a lot, having to see how well he's played this year after that deal got done so late.
You got any other ones you've liked? Or was that question without notice?
No, a little bit. I think Liam Baker's been good at West Coast. Coming across, he's sort of been exactly what they've needed in terms of that leadership, and
he's been in the best players from every week,
most of the week. So he's certainly been up there. There's a few others on the way through, but Bailey Smith's clearly the number one on the way through there too.
That's it, mate.
That is it. Yep. Thank you very much, Schoey.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That has been the Footy Interchange Exchange. As always, you can send through your questions through Patreon preferably, but also on social media to both myself and to Schoey. Been another busy week. Thank you very much for joining us.